Hi everyone, Rene Bastarache here, and in this video, I'm going to discuss some very personal things about my life. Number one, how I died. Ta-da! You're wondering, what's wrong with this guy? How I died in a past life. Yes, we're going to be speaking about past life regression and some other forms of travel. Some of my experiences and experiences of some of my clients. We've been having a lot of people call and ask us about what can you experience, what have you seen, what have you learned, these kind of things here. And I thought this would be a great chance to talk about it since we have a course coming up on August 14th. It's a past life regression and spiritual travel certification course, a live course. It's a 4-day course on weekends on Zoom. But before I get started with these stories, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't subscribed already, to take a moment and to click on the button below this video to subscribe and click on the bell. This way, we can bring our programming and our content to as many people as possible. The more subscribers, the more that YouTube likes it, and the higher we get on the search engine ranking so we can be seen by more people. So I'd appreciate it if you could do that. So let's go ahead and get started. How have I died? Well, I'm just going to speak about one of them. And you saw that in the title. I was actually killed by a samurai. And to make a long story short, I was nobody special. I was just a peasant in a village doing my chores, laundry or whatever, walking through the street, and we heard the rumbling of the ground, it seemed like, and around the corner came a whole group of samurai on horses, and one of them did his thing with his sword, sliced me right across here, and killed me. That was part of one of my past life regressions. Now, the interesting thing about this, I hadn't thought about it till later on. A lot of times I've had funny feelings whenever I thought about a samurai sword. I mean, I love swords. I think it's amazing how they build them. They fold the metal and they make them so hard you can, split a hair in half from 300 yards. I don't know how to gauge that. But they're just a beautiful sword with the etching. I've always liked them, but I've never owned one because when I just look at it, even though I appreciate how it looks, I get that ooh feeling, almost like a chill, and I can feel a discomfort going around across my chest. I never knew why until I experienced that past life regression where I was killed by a samurai, and it was one of those aha moments. That may be why I've always felt uncomfortable around them, why they give me the willies when other swords, World War II swords and what did it call that? The Civil War swords never bothered me at all. So why did a samurai sword bother me so much? So that can kind of answer that question. Let's see, what else did I do? Oh, I remember one time specifically, and this was years ago, doing a brief past life regression session. Actually, I did a self-hypnosis session on myself, and I was a British soldier. Now, I don't know anything about the Brits during different wars, where they were, what they did, because I'm American. I've never really studied other places, but I was a British soldier wearing a British uniform, and one of their helmets that looks like almost like a metal soup bowl. And so not as tall as ours. It came to about here, had a little flange, I guess, coming out, and wearing, I believe it was kind of like a tannish khaki clothing and boots, and there was a whole group of us, and we were marching through the desert of all places. In fact, I didn't know that there was any kind of desert warfare during World War II, but I guess there was quite a bit as the British were trying to keep control of all their assets and everything in the Middle East during World War II. So that's around where I was. And I remember marching from one battle to another one, and that was what I experienced in the past life. And the dryness and the tiredness of going from one battle to another as we were marching very quickly, and the camaraderie I felt with all the other soldiers. I almost said GIs, that's American, all the other soldiers that were marching with us. So it's kind of interesting, the things that you can experience. And I don't remember a lot of the detail because that was many years ago, but I still remember the feeling of it. Some people are extremely visual, so they'll come back from a past life regression session and give you detail and detail and detail because everyone, with our five senses, everyone is more uses one sense more than the other. Not everybody has the same, like not everybody's primary sense is visual. Mine is kinesthetic. I feel things. Raluca, hers is visual. That's the largest one. So sometimes you come back, like I come back, more with feelings than visual things. So that's why I don't remember a lot of the details, but it was very impactful in my life. Let's see, rather than going on about mine, what I really enjoy about doing metaphysics is doing sessions with other people. Because the ones I did were either self-hypnosis or I was part of a group session. But when you do individual sessions, when I'm doing it with somebody else, I can pinpoint the session. So when somebody's saying something, I'd say, are you indoors or outdoors? They'll say, I'm outdoors. So where are you outdoors? I'm in the village. Who do you see in the village? You see what I mean? I can pinpoint it and get details as we're doing it. So anyways, one gentleman, I'm going to just call him Dr. Ron, is a doctor that was in a group. Actually, this was a group session, so you can experience a lot. See, I'm double talking. This was a group session I did for the Bedford Adult Education, and we had like 15 participants in there. So I wouldn't call them, I guess you could call them students. So we had like 15 participants, and Dr. Ron was one. And of course, I did a group past life regression session. Afterwards, go around the room and ask everybody what they experienced. And it was kind of interesting because as he was talking, he was saying he was an artist, and not a really well-known artist. No, I mean, he wasn't Da Vinci. We all want to be the, Picasso and all that, but he was just, he made a living at it. And he was talking about the year it was like, I don't know if it was the early 1900s. And he gave the year, and he spoke about some of the paintings he made. He gave a description of what he looked like, and that was cool. Maybe because he's a doctor, he was more visual, but he gave a very detailed description of what he looked like and some of his paintings, and gave his name. He had so much detail. As he was doing it, Raluca was online, trying to search as much of this stuff online as she could. After the session was over, she came up to him and she showed him what she found online. And it was an artist, kind of like a second-rate artist, and some of the paintings he had, but there was a picture of this guy. And Ron was saying, wow, that looks very, very similar to the person that I saw. So who knows for sure, okay, if we had gone back in, probably we could have asked more detailed questions, but we were able to find the painter that he was, and even some of the paintings. So it's pretty interesting, the things you can find. Now that's for past life regression. What else can you do? Well, let's go over here just to give you an idea. Okay, this is part of our past life regression webpage, but you can see there's a lot of different things. There's future life regression, and of course, you can do future in this life if you want to go ahead 5-10 years, see what's going on. There's parallel lives, present life, so there's all different kinds of things you can do. And in the course, we also teach how to experience contacting spirits. And matter of fact, there was another group I was doing. We rented a hall, and we had about probably 15 people again. And afterwards, we went around to all the different people to find out what they experienced. And one of the women that participated had a wonderful story that really was impactful at the end when we went around from person to person. And this was, like I said, a contacting spirits. And just to give you a little synopsis of what happened in her life, her son, who was probably a older teenager, about 17, 18, had died in a car accident. Imagine one of these things where, your son goes off and, see you later, mom, takes off with his friends or whatever they're doing, and you never hear from them again. So she was quite upset, for many years because she never had closure. So anyways, as we're doing this session with all the people, of course, I'm doing the session and watching everyone to make sure, to see how everybody's doing, how relaxed they are, and, reading the signs. And I noticed she was crying quite a bit. Tears were coming down during the session. So when we got to her, I said, why were you crying? What was going on? She goes, well, I was in my kitchen and I was cooking. She goes, like I normally do. And my son come running in the kitchen, ran up to the refrigerator and opened it like he usually does, grabbed the bottle of orange juice, chugged out of it, turned around and looked at me and says, "Hey, Mom, I just wanted to let you know I'm okay." And he left. And she was crying. I guess it was about that quick, but she got closure. She felt some kind of closure from the whole experience, and she was so relieved, and those were tears of happiness. So it's amazing some of these things that you're going to see happen. And to tie up this video, I don't want to make it too long, but one of my favorite ones I need to speak about is, again, we had done a group session. It was actually a meeting I had held for groups, but I wanted to let the people know, show them how much more you could experience as an individual session. So after the group was finished, I asked for volunteers, and one lady raised her hand, and I had her come to the front of the class, and I did an individual session with her. Now, since we had just done a group, she was already in the hypnotic state, so it only took, a matter of a couple minutes to bring her back deep into hypnosis and do a personal one-on-one or an individual past life regression session with her. Now, remember, we did this here up in Biddeford, Maine, and she was an American person with a regular sounding accent. She sounded like somebody from up here in Maine. I parked my car in Harvard Yard. You know how we talk. But during the session, I brought her to a place where I don't remember the exact year, but she was she was a female aristocrat, or she was working for aristocrats, but she was a woman of means, and I believe she was in Ireland, and she had that Irish brogue, very, very strong accent. It was really fun. As she's talking to me, she's, come up with, I can't even do the accent, but coming up with a very, very strong Irish accent. And she was talking about how, her job is to take care of the house for the master and to tell the servants what to do and make sure everybody's doing their things, and mostly to entertain. He used to hold a lot of parties. So she wasn't his wife. She was, a person of influence, but she, was the belle of the ball and ran the parties and kept everything going good for him. And so as she was talking about this, I made the mistake of saying, "So what do you do for work?" All of a sudden, you can see her stop. She got upset, and she and she kind of raised her voice to me, and she says, "I, sir, do not work. I am the woman of the home." And she got all upset because, working was a thing that was below her, I guess. And, she took care of the home and, ran everything over there. So it was kind of, everyone started laughing in class. And I was like, "Oh, excuse me, I meant no offense." So it's amazing some of the things you could experience when someone's in hypnosis. I remember doing a regression once where I took a woman, an older woman in her 80s, back to when she was 4 years old. And as she was talking to me, she was speaking in broken English and mostly in French. And it was funny because when she came out of hypnosis, she didn't even have a French accent. She goes, "Oh, when I was born, I spoke French before I spoke English because we're of French descent, Canadian French. And throughout years, I lost the accent completely, and she hardly even speaks French now. But she was speaking French as a child, which was kind of interesting. And with a child's like a childish voice, I don't want to start doing like that, but I don't want to sound too annoying, but with a childish voice. So you can see there's so many experiences that can happen when you're doing past life regression. And for the course coming up, not only are you going to learn about how to conduct group past life regression and individual past life regression sessions, both in person and online over the computer through Zoom, we're also going to teach you about present life progression, which is going ahead 5 or 10 years in this life. Maybe you have a project that's going on or something that you're working on. You want to see how it's going to work out, kind of like your own little crystal ball. Then there's future life progression, which is going to the next life. And why would somebody want to do that? Well, a lot of people believe in karma, and they believe their past karma depicted or showed why they have the kind of life that they do now. You had a good past life, you have a great life now. If you're a dog now, maybe you had a bad one, but you wouldn't know because you're a dog, right? But how you live now will depict or relate how you're going to have your next life. So are you living a good life? How about if you can go to the next one and find out? And if not, maybe you should come back here and work more on this one. So that's just one of many reasons you might want to look at that. Parallel life travel. That's right. They say in quantum physics, for every major choice that you made or didn't make, there's a parallel life where you live that life. So how about maybe going to a parallel life where you did go for that college degree in economics, or where you did become a doctor if you didn't decided not to be one now. See how that life was. In fact, I know of a young man that went to a parallel life where he was an artist. And he learned from himself while he was in session about doing art. Now, the mind works a lot faster. It's not like you're just doing it by hand, But the mind absorbs so much that when he came back to this life, he actually could paint. Matter of fact, he even has a piece of art in a museum in, I believe he said it was Arizona. So one of the local museums put one of his pieces of art in there. So that's pretty amazing. So you can learn from yourself. You can, maybe there's things that you can learn that you'd like to learn, or maybe some things that, I want to make sure I don't make that mistake in this life. So you can see there's a lot of interesting things you can do in parallel lives. And there's contacting spirits, which we just mentioned, and there's also life between lives. Matter of fact, at the end of every past life regression or future life progression, I usually have a part where you see a big light in front of you, and I have you go through the light, and you're going out of that life into the life between lives before you go to another one or come back. And if it's like a past life regression, you go to the light and you're in this place of reflection. So life between life, I have them stop and relax, because it's one of the most relaxing places you can probably ever be on this earth. And you reflect on the past life. What was it like? What can I learn from that life? What was the moral of the story, if there's things I'd like to leave back in that life from this one that I don't need, like anger, fear, whatever, leave it there. If there's good things from that life I'd like to bring to this one, I can bring them here. So it's a place where you can learn, reflect, and just rest. Some people like to just go to the life between life and explore there. So what's other words or terms for life between life? Well, some people call it Valhalla. Some people call it universal consciousness. Some people call it home. So different walks of life, different religions have different names for it. But you can see it's not only an interesting field, it can be a field where you can really help people. You can trace problems that they're having. If they can't find out where the problem started in this life, maybe it started in a previous one. So you can follow the issue to the source. And if you're in the mental health field, you can actually work on the source at that time. Or if it's do hypnosis, you can just help them to release the problem and move on. So take a look at the link below this video. We have a link to the upcoming 4-day past life regression course. Matter of fact, we still have the early bird special going on today. We've been advertising this for a while, and the course, like I said, starts on August 14th. So it's in a very short time. It's the 14th, 15th, 21st, and 22nd. Each day will be recorded, so if you can't make some of the time, you can actually listen to the recording that night and catch up. So either way, you can use this for business, you can use it for yourself, but I guarantee that you will have the best time of your past life, and maybe even the next one. So thanks for watching, and I'd appreciate it if you did subscribe, and if you didn't, go ahead and do it now, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye now.